Welcome, I'm the Deadwood Jedi. This is another Raid Shadow Legends video, and we're still looking at the Sand Devil Necropolis. I put in a lot of work on this. I can't help it. I have to do these videos. I know this is so funny. This is going to help like 8 people out there. But for you 8, this video is for you. Don't say I never did nothing for you. Anyway, we're looking at Sand Devil Necropolis. I took that same Siphi team I had built before, right? Where we are sleeping the boss pretty much perpetually, so he's never able to use his big AoE skill. Well, we're going to be doing the same thing here, but that one I did previously was basically on a 3-turn cooldown, right? Because we were sleeping the boss in between 2 of the active skills. We really only had to worry about, you know, protecting ourselves, healing ourselves, all that stuff within a 3-turn range, right? So that was kind of the cooldown all our champions seemed to be on. Well, this time I'm going to do the same thing, except we're never going to wake the boss. And by never waking the boss, basically what we're going to do is just letting the sleep expire on its own. We're going to be breaking him down so he's basically on a 2-turn cooldown. Or because of the skills, excuse me, because of the skills champions in this game have, it's really going to be like a 4-turn cooldown. So we're basically going to have to deal with a skill of the boss every other turn. And so that's how we're going to be able to block the debuffs, continue to put up, you know, all the debuffs we want and do the damage that we want and heal up appropriately throughout the fight. Now, to do this, I want to point out, one, the speeds I used in the last video are the same speeds I'm using in this video. Exactly the same. I'm just using other support champions around them. I still have Cardinal. I still have Cardinal. I still have Siphi in there. Those 2 are pretty much essential for making this team work, right? You need Siphi for the sleep. You need Cardinal to revive. That's just kind of how it works. The other half of it, though, we're going to be using 3 different champions. And because of what I'm bringing in, because we don't want to break the shield, that's one, that's really important, right? Because we don't want to do that, or at least we want to have the right timing for that. In order to do that, we have to make sure that we're bringing in, you know, less attack skills, that kind of thing. It also means that affinity is going to matter, right? Stage 25 is a red affinity boss. So your red affinity champions, your green affinity champions will all be able to land their debuffs. Stage 24 is green affinity, which means your blue affinity champions and your green affinity champions will be able to land their debuffs there. And it also means, on the flip side, that if your blue affinity going against stage 24, the green boss, there's a good chance that he's going to weak hit you. And that can be really helpful as far as surviving. But it can be an issue on the very first hit. So just be aware, you don't want anybody surviving on that first hit outside of Cardinal. If they are, you're just going to have to lower some stats till they don't, basically, because that can obviously mess up the timing of your run, and you don't want that. So that's just kind of something to keep in mind. Anyway, so for this boss, we're bringing in Tyrant, who's blue affinity. Now, I know stage 25 is red affinity, Tyrant's blue affinity. So I did do it on stage 25. It just took us like 15 minutes. So I don't recommend that. When you're not landing your debuffs, that's a bit of an issue. But I am going to use this on stage 24 because, like I said, the speeds work on stage 24. So that's what we're going to be doing. Make sure you do pay attention to affinity. If you are weak affinity for the boss, so like you're blue and they're green, like Tyrant will be careful that they don't actually survive that first hit. I've had that happen a couple times. It's very annoying. And it just means you need to drop your stats a little bit. On the other side of things, if you are, I guess that would have been strong affinity. Whatever, if you're red affinity and the boss is green, he has a chance of really hitting you hard, which can make it a little trickier during the course of the run, staying alive in those cases, if he happens to crit you or hit you with a really strong hit. So those are things to be careful of in your runs and how you build it and who you bring into the comp. That's going to be important, right? It's also really important to be able to time out the skills. We want the sleep up every other, basically we want the boss to be asleep every other turn of his, right? We want him to be awake for half of them and asleep for half of them. And the way this works is if he wakes up naturally, if we never break the sleep on him, then he can't be slept the next turn. So automatically, you're getting that alternating turns. Now, the key to making him actually stay asleep is not getting in those 5 hits, right? Because Siphi's only 1 turn duration, we don't have to worry about the turn meter boost that's happening on his turn, not after his turn. So we don't have to worry about that. And as long as we don't break the shield, we're going to be in really good shape. So, you know, for me, I'm bringing in, like I said, Tyrant. He's going to place HP burn. I do have him with the full blessing. I think he's a 5-star blessing, and I have the smite skill on him. So, like, that makes a huge difference as far as damage. That's actually why I'm bringing him specifically in this comp. Obviously, if you have somebody like an Acrizia, that's a great choice. Anybody with like a single hit ability or double hit ability should be just fine for this boss. The big thing is his first attack needs to be a single hit attack. That's the only thing to really, you know, look out for, be careful of, and be aware of as far as doing this. Anyway, that's what we're doing. So I'm kind of excited about this. So let's go ahead and take a look at the team that we're using. We do have Cardinal in here. Now, I am opening with this A3 ability. One of the things I do want to do in this actually is crack this first sleep. I think that's going to be important for us. Now, obviously, this first turn, we'll just let, when she heals herself, we'll let the sleep expire for 1 turn. It's a 2-turn duration. The second turn, we just want to be able to crack it. So we have Siphi coming in with a hit here. We've got Tyrant coming in, Tatura, and Flesh Tear. All of them are going to place hits on this boss, which should hopefully crack that shield wide open. And or shield, I always say it's a shield, it'll wake him up. And when that happens, that'll allow us to place a sleep after that boss takes an attack. And that's kind of the important part. So we want to be able to time that out so that we're able to, you know, continually go through and sleep the boss every other turn. So that's kind of the idea there. Like I said, we have Siphi in there. Same thing, not using the A2, just sleeping the whole time, just the A1. We've got Tyrant in there. Actually, probably want to open with this so we can wait till the boss is asleep to actually place the HP burn. It doesn't matter. We can start with the HP burn. Either way, it's going to be fine. He's on a 3-turn cooldown, so it's not going to be perfectly timed with his skills. That's fine. I don't want the ally protection, though. That will kill him. That's a bad thing. So we don't want to do that. We got Tatura opening with his Veil and then going into the block debuff ability. And we're going to have Flesh Terror in here, who's a really unique choice, I think. But we're going to bring in Flesh Terror, and the idea with him is he's going to extend the duration of that block debuff so we can block the debuffs for the hits, and it'll recycle itself over time. In addition to that, this is one of the reasons why it's so good. He has a huge heal on his A2 skill, 30% max HP, which is great. And it extends the duration of debuffs, or the buffs on him. Now, so this is great. One of the other great things about Flesh Terror is I can actually give him a 2-turn delay on this ability, and timing the skills is real important. So being able to get that 2-turn delay here allows Tatura to be the only one blocking the debuffs, and that's going to make the run work. So that's the idea behind this. Stage 24, like I said, it runs the same as stage 25. No real difference. At these speeds, it's going to be just fine for us. So let's give it a look-see, okay? So again, yep, see, Tyrant survived that. That's not what we want. So let's do it. Let's try it one more time. Let's let him die this time. I think that'll be better for us. Now, obviously, I could rebuild him to be a little bit squishier, but, you know, it's kind of, I make these videos for you guys. This obviously isn't like my own account. We are on the test server, so I don't really need to, get it. I just need to show you guys one successful run here. And obviously, the opening gambit is annoying. That is what it is. You know what we can do? Let's do one little thing here and make this a lot easier. I do have him in stalwart gear. Obviously, gonna help keep him alive. We'll just take his ring off. I think it'll be fine. We'll take his ring off, and we should be good from this point on. So let's try this again. Boom. Yep, there you go. He died now. All right, we've got the heal. We've got the revive. Everybody's taking a turn. You can see the sleep counter's going down. One more. He wakes up. That's fine. Everybody's taking another turn, right? So we let him expire the sleep. We didn't wake him up, but that lets everybody on our team take an extra turn and set ourselves up for what comes next, which is right here, right? We can sleep again. There's the big heal from Flesh Terror. Great champion. I mean, not really, but like pretty cool champion. Got some neat stuff in his kit. But we're also extending the duration of that block debuff. So this hit right here is not going to place decreased speed on us. And we only have to worry about every other turn because we're sleeping him again. We're not going to break the sleep. It's going to expire on its own. There you go. It expires. We all get another turn, and the boss doesn't go. Now, we can't land any debuffs, right? There's no HP burn. We can't put it out there if we wanted to. That's the negative with it. So this isn't like a super fast run, but it's consistent, and that's kind of the goal here. Then we get him to get to sleep, wakes himself up, totally cool. We get another turn, and we can continue on. If you want to take this a different direction, right? Especially at like lower levels, you can still use this style of team for lower levels. Obviously, the speeds are going to be a little bit different, but you can still use the same style of team. The thing is that if you don't need crazy stats on your champions, you can do different things, right? We're just using HP burn right now, but you saw in the previous video I did where I brought in Riho, brought a lot of debuffs. You can bring in people that just bring in decrease defense or decrease attack and help you survive a little easier if you don't have the stats to be as tanky. Or, you know, maybe you can bring in people that are actually doing raw damage. You can bring in champions like Husk or Royal Guard to do max HP hits. Acrizia obviously is going to be a game changer for a dungeon like this. So there's a lot of options and flexibility as far as how you go about building it. The tricky part with Siphi is, like, you can see the max HP, how far it's been reduced. It's because there's so much healing that she does passively, and because her and Cardinal both go before the sleep happens, they don't have the opportunity to heal that much. That's why timing champions like Flesh Terror right here, when he does his massive heal, is so important, because we erase that max HP that's lost. Just like that, that's a huge AoE heal. So you do, I feel like, really need somebody like that in your squad to make this work well for your team, right? And then of course, you know, blocking the debuffs, that's a pain in the butt. But if you can make those things happen, I think you're going to be in really good shape. Obviously, you can, you know, try and build resistance as alternative approaches, but, you know, resistance is, there's always a 3% chance. And things like decreased speed being landed by this boss will ruin your run. Like, there's no doubt about it, right? There's no way to avoid that. So I always err on the side of consistency rather than, you know, speed, I guess you'd say. And so that's why it's going to be like this. But you can see it's not super fast, right? 3 minutes in, but literally all we're relying on is Tyrant's HP burn and the smite skill. And he really got about a 50% chance of landing those debuffs when they come up, because either the boss is asleep or he can't be slept. And it's a 50-50 shot. So obviously there's better champions that could work for this, you know. Somebody, if you're more consistent with the debuffs, you're gonna have a more consistent kind of run. This is actually one of the reasons why I really like Riho. She's very consistent with that. And so that's kind of the difference here. So, you know, there's definitely some other options as far as ways to go about doing this. You know, you could even bring in somebody like a Brogni, for example, instead of not a Brogni, but you could bring in somebody that has like an HP burn that's a little bit more consistent, or on a 4-turn cooldown would even be better, so you know it's going to be guaranteed to land at certain points. That would be an awesome way to go about it. I actually think you know, somebody like Ignatius would be really great for stage 24 here, or there's a Green Affinity guy from the Tomb Lord faction, whatever, Night Revenant faction. He has a guaranteed HP burn. He'd be great for stage 25. Like, those are champions that could be used, and they're going to be slower runs, but they'll be consistent for you. So there are a lot of options as far as ways to do this. I mean, I probably should just bring in Husk and, you know, I'll have a pretty good result, or bring in a Royal Guard so I can get a decreased defense as well out of him. Those are definitely options for us, ways to go about doing this. So there is some flexibility here. You could definitely use somebody like Sepulchre Sentinel instead of Tatura. Obviously, he has that block damage ability, so you gotta be careful with that and make sure he's gonna use that on the leader. That's why I actually have Cardinal in the lead right now instead of Tyrant, because I was playing around with Sepulchre Sentinel. It was a little annoying. So you don't want anybody surviving but Cardinal that first hit, and that passive ability will activate. So that might be one champion that you might want to use instead of Tatura. That's definitely a good option, and more, you know, I guess you'd say budget friendly. It's an epic champion, right? So that's definitely one way to go. I think you could even use Seducer. He has a 2-turn duration on a block debuff for a rare champion, and all you're looking for from those support roles is just keeping everybody alive and doing the job. They don't need to deal damage. So somebody like Seducer, somebody like Sepulchre Sentinel could be really good for this. So those are certainly options for you outside of a champion like Tatura to be able to use here. But yeah, I mean, you know, it's not the best run in the world, but it works. So, you know, that's great. Okay, there we go. Just under 10 minutes. Okay, it's not fast. It's definitely not fast, but it's an option for you guys. And obviously, I think Tyrant's probably not the right choice for this. I mean, HP burn's cool. It does really good damage, but if you can't keep it up consistently, it's not nearly as effective. So maybe not the best choice of a champion to bring in here. Still, it was something to, I wanted to try it and kind of wanted to see how it worked. Now, the one thing about Tyrant is, he had that smite blessing on him, right? And that only activates when the enemy uses an active skill, so it got wasted kind of a lot. And with this, you're really only getting an active skill from the boss every 8 turns, really. So it's not coming up super often. It is very effective when it does hit, but for this type of a team, it's probably not like really the best choice in the world to bring in. Still, I thought it was pretty effective. So, but this is a team. I thought it was kind of neat to bring in these kind of champions, to be able to bring in Siphi and try it in a different way, right? And being able to show that there are options as far as approaches to using her. All right, we can go ahead and show the champions now. Now, most of these champions I showed in the last video, so I do recommend going and checking that out. I did not change the stats on most of them, actually, at all. So, Cardinal, same exact stats, right? 238 speed. Speeds haven't changed on any of these champions from the last video, which is kind of the cool thing about this, is multiple approaches using the exact same speeds. We've got her in Stone Skin, obviously. We got Siphi the Lost Bride in here, 237 speed, same kind of thing. No changes to her kit whatsoever. You will notice with all these masteries, we're going down defensive tree and support tree primarily with all of them, right? We're either trying to get more healing, we're trying to get more, damage mitigation. Sometimes we're taking bulwark to help the other champions out, but that's kind of the idea here. We've got Tyrant as well, obviously 235 speed, very tanky, a little bit too much tanky actually for this stage, it seemed like. With his affinity, taking that ring off, I think helped a little bit. And he's got, obviously enough accuracy to land the debuffs. More accuracy, the more consistent he's going to be with that. But, there's multiple ways to go about doing this, I think. Tatura Rhymehide, I don't think there's any changes from the last time I showed him. 234 speed, going last in the comp is important for that block debuff to stay on when we need it. And then last we have Flesh Terror, who I have in Guardian set, which actually is really helpful as driving that second hit that we take. And I think that's actually a good way to go with some of your support champions, is if you can do that, right? Might not have been a bad idea to put Tatura in the Guardian set as well. The more, the merrier. Everybody shares the damage a little bit. And so that's definitely an option as far as approaches go. I could have done the same thing with Siphi and Cardinal, certainly, since they are, basically, I don't need any stats on them outside of their speed. The one thing you'd have to be careful with that, though, is like I said before, they take a lot of damage and their max HP has a really hard time of refilling itself. So putting them in Guardian can be a little bit risky. Towards the end of the fights, they can have a tendency to be close to dying. They don't die, but they get close to it, right? And so it's definitely, something to be careful of with them. I would prefer them actually, I don't know. I think just having them in regular old gear is probably the best option. But, if they're dying too much, you might want to try Stalwart. If that doesn't work, maybe, build them tankier is about the best I can say. You don't want healing on them, so that's just something to avoid. So there you go. Another option for taking down the Sand Devil. The fact that we can speed tune a team to work on auto on stages 24 and 25 gives us a lot of flexibility as far as building our teams out. Now, obviously, not everybody has a Siphi, and that is 100% a fair accusation if you want to level it against me. What I would recommend, though, is to look at, what I would recommend is, be patient. There's going to be more comps out there. There are multiple ways to go about doing this. Siphi is really good for this, though, and there really isn't anybody going to be anywhere near as equivalent as her as far as being guaranteed for those debuffs. But these runs are a bit on the slow side, for sure. So there's going to be faster comps and builds out there. I've done a couple of them already. If I haven't showed them already, I will be in the next few days. I've had a few shown with me as well. So there's definitely some more options out there, and we're only going to discover more as we have more time to look at these things. And this is the end game, right? These are end game teams, right? We're talking stage 25 of Sand Devil, easily the hardest content in this game right now. not everybody's going to be able to do this. That's okay too. I think farming lower levels makes a lot of sense. Right now, the rewards are trash. The oil is not really worth it. If anything, you're just going to want to level everything up, maybe 1 or 2, at most 4 spots on some pieces of gear if they get the right roll. So you don't need to spend a lot of time in this dungeon anyway. I don't know how much time I'm ever going to spend in it, to be honest with you guys. So what I would really recommend is just working on those earlier stages of the dungeon. And I will start working on some lower level, early level dungeon teams so that you guys can go ahead and start autoing those and build teams for that. I haven't built those teams yet. Obviously, I haven't figured them out just yet, but that is something I'm going to be working on because obviously that's going to be where most of you are going to want to stay at. Like I said, I was able to solo like all the way up to like stage 11 or 12 or 13 or something with Tyrant. So it's not like you're going to need crazy gear and crazy champs to get far in the early parts of it. It's going to be once you hit about level 15. I think I got hard capped at that. And then I basically just skipped up to 25 to start working on this stuff. So I am still going to have to figure out how to climb on my own account. And when I figure out some tunes for that, I'll be sharing them with you guys so you know how to get there on your own. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for sticking around and watching. It's nice to be back. I love all of you. And yeah, until next we meet, I'm the Deadwood Jedi.